We see the world through thought every day. From the moment we open our eyes, we label things, separate objects, and judge them as good or bad. But what we see is not the world as it is. It is not reality itself. It is an image created by memory, language, and emotion, mixed together, forming a mental image. Thought helps us. It helps us avoid danger, make plans, and survive. But at the same time, thought can become an invisible prison. We look at the world through thought, but at some point, we stop seeing the world and see only our own thoughts. The philosopher Kant said this: we cannot know things as they are in themselves. This raises a question. What we call reality, what is it really? How is reality experienced? Everything appears as a transformation of consciousness. When the observer changes, the result of observation also changes. These statements point in the same direction. What we call reality is a collection of interpretations and images shaped by awareness. When fear is present, the world is experienced as threatening. When gratitude is present, the same day feels like a gift. The situation has not changed. What differs is the position and depth of awareness. The world is not given as a finished form from outside. It continuously changes shape according to how awareness illuminates it. This is why we often try to change the world, but what needs to change first is the way we see. At this point, the question changes, not what the world is like, but what my awareness is illuminating right now. Before names and judgments, consider this moment like a child seeing the world, without right or wrong, without good or bad, appearing as a single field, quietly unfolding. At times, while traveling or on days of quiet ease, we briefly encounter this experience without explanation, a moment already complete. In that moment, we sense that before thought, there is something wider, already present. When thought briefly comes to rest, we taste that place again, the place where truth quietly breathes. This journey begins at that threshold. Humans are instinctively driven to seek understanding. We look for reasons, attach meaning, and try to hold the world in place. Yet this impulse pulls us back into the world of thought. So at this point, what is needed is not more interpretation, but a shift in the place of seeing. Why thought reaches its limits. Humans are beings who seek understanding. Thought breaks the world apart, assigns names, and builds rules to create a sense of security. But those names also confine what they name. The moment we call it a tree, it becomes a concept. Thought is a tool of control. We fear what we do not know and try to grasp the world through understanding. Yet this grasping moves us away from truth. The history of philosophy is the history of understanding. Descartes placed reason at the center of thought. Kant explored the limits of cognition. As a structure, we do not know things as they are in themselves. Only within the frameworks of perception do we experience them. These frameworks help understanding, but also become a prison. Heidegger said this: humans have forgotten being. The moment we try to grasp being, we move away from it. Thought moves toward truth, but exhausts itself at the end. Explanations increase, while clarity fades. This is why philosophy ultimately returns to questioning. Wittgenstein said this about what cannot be spoken: we must remain silent. This statement marks the boundary thought reaches. Here, an important turn occurs. When thought stops, it is not failure. It means it has completed its role. In this place of stopping, another way of knowing begins to appear quietly. What does the place before words point to? Where thought comes to a stop. Zen points in a different direction. Not understanding, but the place of seeing. A student asks, "Where is truth?" Instead of answering, the teacher points to the sky. When the student looks at the sky, the teacher says, "The one who sees the sky is truth." This pointing is not language, but a direct place. Zen refers to the place of awareness itself before words. In this place, self and object are not divided. It is not a special state, but a recovery of seeing. In this place, there is stopping, but not emptiness, not passivity, but the most full stillness. When all concepts fall away, being illuminates itself. What Heidegger called the forgetting of being is resolved here, Zen says, right here. Wake up. This single phrase goes deeper than explanation. In this place, even the observer is not found as separate. Only seeing reveals itself. Quantum physics approaches this point. Before observation, the world exists as possibility. Zen calls this emptiness, reality before explanation, appearing as a single field, where everything is connected. This shift is not adding more concepts, but a change in the place of seeing itself. When thought comes to rest, truth appears not as explanation, but as presence. How the self is formed and how it dissolves. Awakening is not a special event. It is a shift in the direction of seeing. We spend our lives observing the world without questioning the observer itself. Awakening happens when this unconscious center begins to collapse. In daily life, we constantly say, "I am right," "I failed," "I was hurt." In all these statements, there is always a me at the center. But what is this me? Does it truly exist? Psychology says the self is a constructed concept. Buddhism calls it non-self. Yogacara explains this process in greater detail. The storehouse consciousness holds the seeds of all experience. These seeds meet conditions and appear as reality. The world we experience is not an external substance, but traces of consciousness reappearing as a field. This is what is meant by awareness of projection. Projection is not a distortion, but how reality is formed. Quantum physics points to the same insight. When the observer changes, reality changes. Consciousness is not merely a function of perception. It is a fundamental force that shapes reality. This shift is not a sudden lightning event. It unfolds through a gradual change in the direction of observation. As the self steps back, awareness opens to a wider field. At this point, reality is no longer a fixed substance. It is experienced as a relational flow. We come to see what has changed is not the world, but the place from which we see. As the self steps back from the center, awareness begins to illuminate itself. In that stillness, we realize truth is not something to be found. It has always been right here. Where was truth all along? At the end of every inquiry, there is silence. Philosophy tried to explain that silence with language. Science tried to prove it with equations. But truth is not explained or proven. It simply reveals itself. Thought moves toward truth, but eventually trips over its own shadow and stops. That stopping is not failure. It is the moment of turning. The gaze that was directed outward turns inward. It begins to illuminate the one who was thinking. What appears is not understanding, but a reversal of perception. In that place, thought and being are not separate. Thoughts still arise, but the one who grasps them is no longer found. People say, I am awakened, but the moment one says this, thought has already returned. Truth appears only where even the speaker has disappeared. Zen calls this no mind. Thought has stopped, but awareness remains alive. In that stillness, we realize that the act of seeking truth was itself what obscured it. Truth was never far away. It was always right here, before thought, already present. This journey is not an ending, it is a beginning. Not learning about truth, but living as truth itself. If you are hearing these words, the awareness that hears them is already that truth. So do not try to understand more. Just for a moment, rest in stillness. In that stillness, you will find you have already arrived. Let us expand the horizon of consciousness together with Truth Inquiry. Your subscription and likes are acts of love and encouragement. Thank you.